Welcome everyone. My name is Jeff St Laurent and this is the Tuesday Live Show. Today's topic is an interesting one and it's called adapting in the moment. So today I was supposed to have one of the web designers that I recommend on the show as my guest. We were going to do an interview and he had a baby like yesterday, like midday, and I had sent my email out about it. I had done my my Facebook event about it and promoted it everywhere in my group and my page and other social media outlets as well. And then he's like, dude, we just had the baby. It was supposed to come like later on, next week or something like that. So I had to like, all right, well, no big deal. We just got to roll with the punches and go with it. So today is all about adapting in the moment because we've got to be able to adapt in our business. And I feel like it was a good topic for the situation and obviously to help teach you about how we can do this in your business and the importance of it as well. So I do record all of these Tuesday live shows and then I put them on my website, sellingcoaching.com in the university. I help coaches transition to a full-time business. So I focus on the structure, on where you're getting going, whether you've started or you haven't started yet, to ease the frustration of it all so you can have a clear path towards creating revenue in your business, because I want you to do this full-time, meaning get paid a full-time income. I've been doing this full-time since 2004. Haven't looked back, ain't stopping anytime soon, and I want to teach you to do the same. So right on the homepage at sellingcoaching.com, if you enter your name and email, you'll get a great resource, launching your coaching business or your full-time coaching business, the first 3 vital steps. So you can go ahead and check that out. When you enter your name and email, you get instant access to the audio program that I offer you there. And then also you will have, you will be in my email community, which will allow you to receive the emails from me on a weekly basis. The benefit of that is you can get some great information. You can also start to see how I communicate with my audience, because that is a vital piece of what you do. Now let's talk about this, adapting in the moment. So like I said, I had a guest. They weren't, they had an emergency, baby, good stuff going on, or it doesn't matter for whatever reason, right? This can happen in your business anytime. You could be doing a show. You could be having a guest on. You could be doing an interview or a podcast. You could be doing an event and something could happen. I've done so many live events before I was exclusively online. I would do live events. And I do live events and, the microphone's not working or my laptop's not working or, something's less than ideal in the situation. Some people didn't show up that I expected to show up. Anything. You blank out in the moment and you can't think of what to say. So there's a lot of situations in your moment where things don't go as planned. Technology breaks down. You break down. Other situations break down. Maybe your lights break down if you're filming something or you're going online for a webinar and your internet's not working. So and I could go on and on. There's a multitude of situations where things go wrong or things don't go as planned or things are less than ideal. In entrepreneurship, really is about your ability to adapt and produce value in those moments. It's being able to deliver in the most challenging circumstances, especially the ones that aren't planned. If you think of professional athletes and you think of the professional athletes that are getting paid the most, and yes, all professional athletes get paid decent compared to the average person. However, when you think about it, there's only, in any sport, there's your marquee players, the players that everyone knows, the players that are getting, not only millions and millions of dollars in terms of salary, but they're also getting millions and millions of dollars in terms of endorsements. But that's not everyone. It's a very, very small percent of the athlete population, if you will, in each sport. And the reason why they get paid so well is because they thrive in the most challenging and stressful situations. They're the ones that when you give them the ball or the whatever sport it is you're playing, they produce results. And do they produce all the time? No. Not at all. And so where we get the notion is that we have to produce all the time, we get effective all the time, and this is perfection pieces. No, that's not the case. But the point is they produce, let's say, more often than not. They're more reliable than unreliable. They're the person that we want to see. We want them to get the ball in the last minutes because we have confidence in them. I want you to become that person. And we only become that person when we practice putting ourselves out there, because when you practice putting yourself out there on a consistent basis, that allows you to have to adapt, because situations occur like this today or any other situation that you have to kind of create on demand. And creation on demand is something that's so vital. Part of my system that I work with, and as I mentor coaches, like if people hire me as a mentor coach, one of the things that I help them with, and this is a simple structure that everyone should be doing anyways, is, obviously we want to be able to use our email list. We want to be able to, I like to call it a community, but we want to email our community on a weekly basis. We got to stay in front of them. So it's setting up a structure to be able to do that. It's setting up a structure where we could do some form of a live event. Like I do these live events every Tuesday at 12:05 Eastern, right? So we want to be able to create a live event on a weekly basis. And aside from the marketing aspects and things like that, if we will it down to something that I feel is the most important for us as coaches, especially in the beginning, but then even on an ongoing basis, is that when you do a weekly live event like this, when you write an email, not only does it force you to articulate your message on a consistent basis, but it forces you to articulate your message in the written form via the email. It forces you to articulate it in a spoken form like this. And this is the closest to, right here, a live event like this, like a live broadcast. Obviously, there's a recording of this as well. But the live broadcast, it forces you to articulate your word. This is the closest you can come to a live speaking engagement. I mean, the next step is that I'm in a room with people that are in front of me, right? That's it. But my presentation skills, it works on the same presentation skills that I would if I were in a live event. And that's vitally important, is it forces you to put yourself in live situations. And I say live situations because when you're in a live situation, you have to adapt. And I'll go back to my sports metaphor with the professional athletes, especially the marquee athletes. It's a live situation. Yes, they practice. Yes, they practice and they run plays and they run, and so their skills and their fundamentals are, let's say, as perfected as they can be. They're honed and they're toned and they're ready to go. But now when they're in that live event, when they're on the actual event itself, they're on autopilot. They're relying on what they've practiced to kind of kick in when it needs to kick in, but it's live. You can't predict or script what's going to happen. Even if you're running a play and we've practiced this in practice, hundreds, if not thousands of times, and I'm supposed to go here and you're supposed to go here and I give you the ball and you give me the ball and then I, shoot and get a layup. I'm talking basketball now, right? But whatever the sport is, and it works like clockwork there. And even if you can have defense, etc., but in a live situation, you can't predict what's going to happen. So the same thing I want you to do is I want you to put yourself in live situations like these live broadcasts as an example, like your weekly live event, and even a weekly email. It's not live. I'm not typing it and people are reading it as I type it. But at the end of the day, if I'm sending an email on a Monday or a Friday, I'm writing the email and sending. So it puts some pressure on you to say, okay, this is the day I'm sending my email and I need to send it by the end of the day. So it puts that pressure so it's as live as it can be because you got to produce a result and send it out there and make it live. And I want you in those situations because what's going to happen is you're going to go live and your microphone's not going to be working, or your light's broken, or your internet's not there, or you're going to have a guest, and you're going to have to adapt in those moments. And you might freak out. You might not know what to do. You might not know what to say, but you're going to start to see how you handle those situations. And here's the interesting part is that even if you don't handle them well, even if you're like, oh my God, I freaked out and I didn't even do my show. Or, I did my show, but and I couldn't formulate my words and I didn't go anywhere and I spoke in circles and whatever else that went wrong. Okay, whatever. But the point is we want to learn from that and we want to adapt from that and we want to grow from that. And I want to help you create income in your coaching business. The only way you're going to create income in your coaching business is by you putting yourself in adaptable creation on demand situations that are live and forcing yourself to get better. Now, the thought process is, and I know this because I was there years ago, many of my mentoring clients that I work with, this is where they initially come at it, is the thought process is, well, I want to prepare and plan and script and practice and practice and practice before I get to the live situation. Fair. And I'm not saying don't do anything However, what I am saying is very oftentimes in this business, it's the opposite way, meaning we've got to put ourselves in the live situation in order to get better. And that often becomes our practice. I'm not saying that we can't think about what we're going to say. So if we're going to do a live show like this, it doesn't mean we can't think about what we're going to say before we do the live show. It doesn't mean we can't, jot down some bullet points, before we do an event. It doesn't mean we can't prepare or shouldn't prepare with a PowerPoint or things like that. It doesn't mean we shouldn't be in our room or in front of some people and maybe speak it out loud and see how it works, see how the runtime goes for. In fact, those things are advised, especially if you're brand new to that. We want to do that. However, we want to be putting ourselves in more of these situations and get yourself there. In other words, you've got to schedule the event. The challenge with coaches is they get to this point of, I'm going to practice, but I'm not practicing for anything that's scheduled. That's the problem, is that if you're just practicing and writing an event or, preparing all this stuff, but don't have anything planned like, oh, well, I've got an event this Sunday, or I've got a live broadcast I'm doing today or next week, and I'm practicing for that, that's good. But if I'm just practicing for nothing, meaning I think it's just something, but I don't have anything coming up, that's the challenge. I don't want you doing that. That's a waste of time because you're not practicing it for anything real. Because the whole point of practice is that if I'm practicing something for an event, the whole point is that when I do the event, now I've got to see, well, how did I do? How did I perform? Did I do favorably or did I do unfavorably? Said differently, was I great or did I suck? Did I produce the result or did I come up short? Like, that's the test. It's school. We study and we have a test. How do we do on the test? Did we pass or did we fail? If we failed, that means our preparation wasn't good enough. We need to do more. We need to do better. We need to get ourselves out there more. And there's no difference in our business. And the biggest thing is here, there's really no pass or fail. It's just more of, well, we're getting the results or we didn't get the results. Doesn't mean that, we didn't get the result, therefore we failed. You'll fail if you then give up and don't do anything from there. But we got to go back and get better and better. And that's the point of this. And so that's what I want you to see is I want you to put yourself in the situations where you're testing your skill sets. You're testing what you're learning. And we've got to see where we're weak. We got to see where we are subpar. We got to see where we're less than. We got to see where we need work. We got to find the weak link in the chain, so to speak. And we've got to start focusing on that. I remember years ago when my mentor coach said to me, he's like, I was having enough leads, meaning I was getting myself out there. I was speaking and I was getting clients, but I'm like, man, I was struggling. I felt like I was struggling, but I wasn't getting the type of result that I knew I could create. And he helped me. He said, take me through your process. What do you do? And I'm like, what's my process? What do you mean by that? I didn't have a process. I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants, and he helped me understand I need to take a potential client through a process. And then he realized that I didn't know how to sell. And I remember we were on the phone in my mentor coaching session with him. And this is probably like in 2005 or something like that. And he's like, I felt like he was looking me in the eyes. He's like, dude, you need to learn how to sell. And he kind of laughed. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I do. And that statement turned everything around for me. Look at where I'm now. I'm selling coaching. Like, I'm talking about that. But I realized I didn't know how to sell. I was scared of selling, but putting myself in live situations like that. And I would go to events and I would speak, and I spoke at some events with him, and he watched me. He's like, dude, you need to learn how to sell from the stage. He's like, you don't sell yourself. He's like, you're a great presenter. He's like, you can present information, but you're not selling anything. You're not offering anything. You're not enticing people to understand how they can work with you. And that's where I understood. I didn't understand any of that stuff. I didn't even understand what he was really telling me. And then he would start to show me, like, we're at events. He's like, watch what they do now. Watch it, like people, other speakers that were masters at closing and selling from the stage. And he was like, watch this. Watch how they change the mood. Watch how they go from a serious mood where everyone's kind of emotional and they start to lighten it up. They're like, they're going to lighten it up now, and then they're going to sell something. They would lighten it up and sell something, and people would run to the back of the room. And I would go up there and speak, and people were moved, but they didn't run to the back of the room. And when I started to learn that stuff and I started to speak and I started to learn how to do that, next thing you know, when I finished, people were running to the back of the room to my table and hiring me as their coach, buying my book, buying my audio courses and things like that. But I had to learn that stuff. But I had to put myself in those situations where I fell short. Doesn't mean I fell short in all the areas, but I fell short in some areas, and I was falling short in probably one of the most important areas was selling, so that allowed me to really work on that skill set over the last 15 plus years and get better at it, get better to the point enough where I got much, much better results, get better at the point where I felt like compelled to teach it and make it a part of my business and structuring, what I do with coaches and helping them transition to full time. So that's my message to you today is adapt in that moment. But in order to adapt, in order to get better, and I'll go full circle way back, is that what we get paid for an entrepreneur is we get paid for the value we bring to the market. And the value of what we bring is not in a product. I'm not selling a phone. I'm not selling something tangible. I mean, yes, I could be selling a book. I could be selling a course, etc. But you're the product. You're the service. So you've got to get better. So if we get paid for the value that we bring to the market, and we're bringing ourselves to the market as a coach, we've got to get better. We've got to push ourselves, and we've got to put ourselves in those uncomfortable situations and then find out where we fall short, and then say, okay, let's go back to the table and go, okay, what was it? How do we get better? Let's get practice, and then get ourselves out there again. But we're not waiting months to do it again. Again, going back to where I was talking about probably 5-10 minutes ago is, okay, let's talk about these events that we're doing on a weekly basis. And that's why I love these live events, because even now, as I've been doing this, since 2004, and I've been doing live events for a very long time, I do weekly live events like this, things like that, is I'm still honing my craft. I'm still honing my craft. I'm only as good as my last event, and whether my last event was great or poor or anywhere in the middle doesn't matter, because it's about how I perform on my next one. And I've got to stay sharp, just like an athlete. An athlete, wins the Olympic medal, or they win the national championship, or they win the, whatever title, or the end all goal of the season and what they're going for. Okay, guess what? Congratulations, but are you playing again next year? Okay, because you're starting from scratch. And you know what? There's other people out there, and they're younger, and they're fitter, and they're stronger, and they're hungrier, and they're thirstier than you are, and they're out to take what you have. And that's the same way with us, is there's people out there, and they're younger than us, and they're better looking than us, and they're smarter than us, and they're better developed than us. And that's okay, because you ought to thrive off of that. I thrive off of, my circle of friends and the people I hang around with, right? I want to be the brokest person in the group. I want to be the dumbest person in the group. I want to be the slowest person in the group. I want to be the least fit person in the group. Heck, I'll be the ugliest person in the group. I don't care. Because what that's going to do is that's going to force me to rise up. It's going to shine the light on the things that I'm not doing well, and it's going to force me to get stronger, and it's going to force me to work harder, because I know that as I work on those skill sets and I bring that to the market, I'm going to get paid for that, right? I was working out today, and I was thinking about, as people were talking, like, people get paid good money in life because they do things really well. Right? That people, you go to a performance. Why? Because it's a fantastic performance and a great show, because they sing really well, or they act really well, or they, play the music really well, and it sounds good, or it's amazing. You don't go for mediocrity. I mean, it doesn't mean that that's not out there. However, you don't go because it stinks and, I heard they're really bad, I'm going to go see them. No. In fact, I heard they're really good, so I'm willing to pay whatever it is that I'm willing to pay to go see them, because of the experience, because they're really good. And why they're really good? Do they just kind of come out of the womb that way and just figure it out? Well, some people are gifted, but just because you have some gifts and talents doesn't mean you can't hone and practice those, because it's those people that feel like they're good enough. That's where they maybe they rise to a certain level, but they'll cap off right there, or they won't last very long. They'll fizzle out. They're not going to stand the test of time. So as I'm asking you is people get paid for doing things really well. People are attracted and want to be a part of groups and follow people that are doing really well and that are delivering value. And you might not be there yet. You might not be there yet. That's okay if you're not there yet, but get there. Force yourself to get there. And I'm using that word force. Force is very, it doesn't feel good. It's like I have to make myself do it. That's rooted in pain. However, you might not have the drive to go there, and you might need to force yourself. You need to set up some leverage some things that allow you to do it. You might have to set up some accountability for it to get yourself there, and that's okay. It doesn't matter how you create a result. If it's legal, ethically moral, and no one gets hurt doing it, then who cares how you get there? But work yourself to get there.